If you're thinking of applying for a Canadian study permit, you're gonna want to stick around and watch this video. If you know someone who is applying for a study permit or intended to apply for a study permit, you need to send them this video so they can know everything there is to know about a Canadian study permit, to make sure that they don't end up in a situation where they regret applying for a study permit to study in Canada rather than applying for another country or for a different type of visa. If you're new here, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back to another video. My name is Dems. I'm a Jamaican who migrated to this beautiful country called Canada back in 2019. I came as an international student, and I'm here to share my way of doing things with you guys so you guys can know how to do things from my own experiences. I'm not an immigration consultant, affiliate, lawyer, anything of the sort. So in today's video, guys, I'm going to be sharing facts about studying in Canada so you can make an informed decision if studying in Canada is the best thing for you or for your family member. Before we get into it, subscribe to the channel, become a part of the family, and most importantly, give this video a like. That little thumbs up button, Studying in Canada is not an automatic route to permanent residency. A lot of persons, when they apply to come to Canada to study, they all have goals, hopes to become a permanent resident, including myself. That was one of the purpose of studying in Canada. We all want to become PR. However, studying in Canada by itself does not make you automatically qualified for permanent residency. But what it does, it gives you the opportunity to, get extra points, bonus points underneath existing streams like the Canadian Experience class if you end up working in Canada, different provincial nomination take into consideration if you have studied in Canada. So it gives you kind of like a bonus mark. As a matter of fact, a part of the study permit process is demonstrating to an immigration officer that your goal is to go back to your home country. So studying in Canada is not a direct pathway to permanent residency. That's number one fact. A lot of persons don't understand this, and they feel a sense of entitlement that once they have studied in Canada, it's an automatic way to become PR. Okay, facts number two, you can only work limited hours. Now, because of COVID-19, the government had relaxed this policy that stated that international students could have only worked 20 hours when school is in session. They relaxed that to the point that international students could have worked unlimited hours. But now, it's now in effect that when school is in session, you can only work 24 hours per week. But when school is out of session, there's no limit as to the amount of work you can do. And this is specific for off-campus work. So if it is that you get a job on campus, there is no limit to the amount of hours that you can work per week. But if it's off-campus work, you can only work 24 hours per week. Another fact that I want people to know about the international study permit is you are only able to have your family join you if you're doing a master's or PhD program. Now, previously, last year and the year before and the year before, etc., 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 you would have been able to take your family with you if you're studying in Canada and a program that allows you to have a study permit, which means the program is longer than 6 months and you're doing it at a designated learning institution. Then you would have been able to take your family regardless if you're doing an undergrad or a postgrad. But now you're only able to take your family if you're doing a master's or PhD or a professional program, like you're studying to become a lawyer, you're studying to become a doctor, etc., etc., etc. If you're any of those students, you're able to take your families. But if you are not one of those students, unfortunately, you're not able to take your family with you as a student. But as soon as you're done, you get your postgrad work permit. As of now, you're still able to take your family. Short-term pain, long-term gain. There's a lot of confusion around this topic because this rule came in effect just a couple months ago, and to be honest, there's a lot of gray lines what to do, what not to do. So the fact of the matter is, if you're doing a professional program or if you're doing a master's or a PhD, you're able to take your family with you. Otherwise, your family are gonna have to hold on until you're done with your studies. Okay, studying in Canada, how much money do you need? This is a question that a lot of persons always ask myself and many other people who have studied in Canada are currently studying in Canada. The truth of the matter is, When you apply for your study permit, you have to demonstrate that you have sufficient funds to cover your living expenses. As of right now, the total funds that you need is an estimated 21,000 Canadian dollars, 1 year's living expenses plus 1 year of tuition costs. So your 1 year tuition plus 21,000 is what you need as of right now for a demonstration of proof of funds for your Canadian study permit. Now, that funds is going to be vital when you land in Canada because things are not cheap, and a lot of international students fall into the trap of underestimating how expensive Canada is. You're going to need to cover your bills, your rent, your stuff like that. So what I always suggest to international students is, if you are here by yourself, not with a family, and you don't have anywhere to stay, like with family members or friends, and you have to end up getting an apartment, I always suggest, before getting an apartment, look into the option of living on campus, because campus living is much cheaper than living on your own, because everything is incorporated within whatever you pay for rent, right? Or for living expenses. You don't have to worry about your utilities, you don't have to worry about laundry, and all of the miscellaneous costs that comes with living on your own. You don't have to worry about that. So if you're a single person, not coming with any family or anyone to stay with, consider living on campus, because that will allow you to save a lot of money. Another thing you need to know about studying in Canada, this is another fact. How do you manage school and work? It's a question that I get a lot, and let's talk about it a little bit. You are on a study permit. Your goal is to study in Canada. Your goal is to complete your studies so you can move on to your postgrad work permit, get whatever qualifications you need in order to apply for a PR, right? So your main focus on a study permit is school. Your work is secondary, your studies primary. However, you need money to pay your bills, right? What I always say to international students is, find a job that is willing to flex your flexibility, give you flexibility around your studies, right? Like, your courses change every semester. Your time is going to change every semester. So looking for a job that doesn't have flexibility is kind of like setting up yourself for failure, because one, you're gonna have to potentially leave that job in the future or drop out of school, or one of the two, because your job then becomes your primary. Now, don't look for a job that necessarily gonna restrict you to a certain amount of hours to when they are open, but look for a job that has flexibility, that is willing to give you some leeway as your courses change, as you need to go and do your exam, as you need to, whatever you need to do. So look into flexibility rather than stability. That makes sense, because stability actually is important too, but this is not your forever job. This is your job as a student, and then as you matriculate, you move on to other things, bigger things and better things. Another fact that I want international students or potential international students in Canada to know is that the school that gives you the lowest school fee is not necessarily the best school for you. A lot of times when you are doing research into colleges in Canada, a lot of international students fall into the trap of looking at, where can I get the cheapest school fees? But the cheapest school fees are usually the most expensive of places. So you have to look at the holistic picture. Look at the province as a whole, then look at the city in general. What is your opportunities to find part-time work while you're in school? What's the opportunity of finding affordable housing, affordable living, stuff that makes your life comfortable while you are a student? On that same note, word of advice, not all that glitters is gold, right? A lot of times, potential international students and also international students fall into the trap of going to the bigger cities. The Torontos, the Vancouvers, the Calgary, the Edmonton, the Winnipeg, we all know them. Fall into the trap of going into the bigger cities, and then when they get there, they realize that, one, things are a lot more expensive. Two, it's way harder to get a job because it's very competitive. And three, it's just not able for them, like, their transition is much harder than if they're in a smaller city. Now, my advice is always go where you have support. So if that's where your support is, like if you have place that you can stay, a family member, a friend who can, take care of you while you're there, then that's good. But if you don't have that, if you do not have that, read my lips, if you do not have that, look into the smaller cities. Please, I've preached this over and over and over. Please look into the smaller cities. Not all that glitters is gold. And the final facts that I'll share with anyone. Would I encourage anybody to study in Canada? The answer is absolutely yes. Now, one, Canadian education is observed worldwide. So even if your goal is not to remain in Canada, whatever diploma, certificate, bachelor's, whatever program you do will be observed internationally. So that will give you a competitive edge. Second thing that I would like to say is if your goal is permanent residency, studying in Canada gives you a significant advantage to be able to get into certain pools, get a part of different provincial nomination programs that can be significant as it is that you look for future permanent residency. And three, I believe that the experience that you'll get in Canada would set you up for success in the future regardless of what, because intertwining with different cultures, different way of doing things will make your life so much easier and you'll see things from a different perspective. So I would 100% encourage persons who are thinking of studying in Canada to go for it. Now, what advice would I have to give them? Be sure to do your research before settling on a province, before settling on a city. Be sure that you are doing your own factual research and not just taking the word of someone you saw on YouTube or someone whom you met on the street who give you good or bad advice. Make sure that you are doing your own research and making a decision that's best for you and your family, right? Don't make a decision just because somebody say do this, because oftentimes a lot of persons end up coming to Canada and the persons who encourage them to come to a particular city are not there to support them and help them and guide them, and then they realize that the opportunities that they thought were there is not actually there. So make an informed decision on your own. And three, know that studying in Canada is not easy. Now, before coming to Canada, I thought that it would have been a walk in the park because we always hear education in the Caribbean is much better than North America. Not true. It is very essential for you to understand this because this will help you to remain focused and remain steadfast on your goal. It's not going to be easy, but you're going to ride it through and you're going to complete it, right? And everybody follows the same process. The wheel is already there. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. The wheel has already existed for years and is still existing, right? Make sure that you're keeping up to date with changes with policy and make sure that you are not contrary to your study permit visa. Anyways, guys, that's it for now. If you haven't already subscribed, please take a second to hit that subscribe button. Please take a second to smash that like button and drop a comment. Let me know if you like this video in the comment section. Until next time, see you guys in the next video. Peace.